And before we go any further, if the word makes you feel uncomfortable too, stay with me, because I think you're thinking about it the same way I used to. And if so, I think today's conversation might surprise you. Can I tell you one word I absolutely hated for years? Acceptance. Really, I couldn't stand it. You know, every time someone said, "You need to accept your pain," what I heard was, "You just need to give up. Stop hoping. You know, this is as good as it's going to get, probably." Well, maybe you felt that way too. If you have, I completely understand. I thought acceptance meant surrendering or accepting defeat. But eventually I understood something that completely changed how I understood that word. Acceptance wasn't asking me to give up my life, but actually to start living it again. So today I'd love to share that journey with you. And before we go any further, if the word acceptance makes you feel uncomfortable too, stay with me, because I think you're thinking about acceptance the same way I used to. And if so, I think today's conversation might surprise you. As I think back, I spent years actually arguing with reality. Maybe some of these thoughts sound familiar to you too. Well, I used to be able to do that. Or if I could just find the right doctor or figure all this out. And another one was, well, other people don't have to live like this. Those thoughts came into my mind a lot. Now, many of those thoughts were totally understandable, right? Some of them were even true. I really was able to do things in the past that I couldn't do at the moment. And other people really didn't have pain all day long. So the issue wasn't whether those thoughts were true. The issue was I was spending an incredible amount of time and emotional energy trying to change things that I couldn't change. I desperately wanted my old life back. Well, anyone would. So if you've ever thought, this isn't fair, that's normal. You're human. If you've ever wished you could have your old life back, if you've ever cried because your life doesn't look the way you hoped it would, you're human. There's no shame in that. But can we ask ourselves another question? Is spending all of our energy arguing with reality helping us move forward? Let's find out. I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, because they hear the word acceptance and they think, you're just telling me to settle. Of course, that's what I thought too. So let's clear up some misunderstandings. Acceptance does not mean that I like having chronic pain. I don't. Acceptance does not mean I want this life. I certainly don't. And acceptance does not mean giving up hope. And it doesn't mean stopping treatment. It doesn't mean deciding, well, this is as good as life's going to get. That's not acceptance. In fact, I don't even think that's healthy at all. So if acceptance isn't any of those things, then what is it? For me, acceptance became something really actually practical. It meant I stopped waiting for one perfect cure before allowing myself to begin living each day again. Now, please hear me carefully. I still looked for good doctors, I still pursued treatments, and I still learned everything I could about my health situation. Acceptance didn't stop me from seeking healing options, but it changed how I sought healing. So instead of putting my life on hold until I could find all the answers, I started making the most of each day while I kept searching for answers. It's really an important distinction, isn't it? I didn't stop hoping, I just stopped postponing my life. Acceptance gave me permission to start living today. Not someday, but actually living today. So what could you do to help you live today well? Let's take a look at that together. So here's one thing that helped me. Instead of waiting for someone else to fix everything, I started working on becoming the self-manager of my own condition. Now, that doesn't mean that I became my own doctor. Far from it. It means I began asking, what can I do to help me live well today? Some days that meant pacing my activities. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that that was one of my problems, is trying to pace my activities. Some days it meant taking a walk. Some days it actually meant resting. Some days it meant asking for help. Acceptance wasn't passive. That's kind of the way we think of it, isn't it? But it was one of the most active decisions that we can make. It's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have. Acceptance is not resignation. It's actually engagement in life. We're actively participating in our life again. I didn't want to keep waiting to be rescued. I wanted to start participating in my own healing journey. So you might be wondering, well, how do I get to that state of active acceptance rather than resignation? One thing I wish someone had told me is that acceptance is not something you accomplish once. It's not like crossing the finish line. There's still mornings when I wake up and I don't like my reality. There's still days when I wish things were different. Acceptance doesn't mean that those feelings disappear. It means that I notice them, but then I return my attention to the life that I'm working on today. Acceptance grows one decision, one day, one small step at a time. And that can actually be encouraging. You know why? Because it means nobody has to perfectly accept their pain before moving forward. You just start practicing it. As I look back over my journey, I think acceptance was really an amazing gift because it gave me my life back. Not because I started loving having chronic pain, but because I finally stopped spending every ounce of today's strength fighting today's reality. Instead, I could use that strength and focus and energy to love people, to learn new things, to laugh with my friends, to coach others like me, to encourage you. You know, acceptance is no longer a dirty word because it helped me to do this. Accept the things I cannot change. It gave me the courage to change the things I could. And it's helping me to find the wisdom to know the difference between those two. If there's one thing I hope you'll remember from today's conversation, it's this. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up hope. It means saying, this is where I am today. How can I make the most? And once we stop spending so much energy arguing with today's reality, we suddenly have more energy available for today's life. The invitation I'd like to leave you with today is this. Instead of asking, have I accepted everything? Ask, what's one small step I can take toward living today, making the most of my current circumstances? If you have also misunderstood this concept of acceptance in the past and have learned something new today, share in the comments your experience or maybe even your additional questions. I really appreciate you sticking with me as we keep learning and growing and healing together. We've explored acceptance in this video, and here's another video to watch next. I'll see you there. And remember, your pain is real. There is hope. And my goal is for you to have your pain in the rear view.